Hello everybody, my name is Dr. Ian Sandel and I'm one of the admissions tutors here at the Department of Electrical Engineering and Electronics at the University of Liverpool. I just want to spend a few minutes in this short video to talk to you about the academic advisor system we have here at the university and within the department. So regardless of which programme you're on, you will be given an academic advisor. So that's a member of the academic staff, myself or one of my colleagues, and you meet with this member of staff in small groups of 4 or 5 students, and we'll meet on a fortnightly basis. The first meeting takes place during Welcome Week. Students tend to prefer to call this Freshers Week. So we'll be the first member of academic staff that you will meet in the department. We meet this very much in an informal way. Quite often in Freshers Week, we meet over lunch, and we can discuss sort of your background, your anticipations, your hopes for university, addressing the immediate worries you might have about your accommodation, about how the course works. We then continue to meet on a fortnightly basis, and we discuss a whole range of topics during your time with us. So we can discuss topics that you've gone over in lectures. So you might come to a session and say, I don't understand what Professor X has gone through in this lecture. And we can help you with that. We can go back over, we can look at the circuits, we can look at the maths, the theory, the signal processing, whatever it is from that lecture, and we can go through some problems and help supplement and support your knowledge from that module. We can also cover a range of other topics during these sessions. So perhaps you have questions, and first years quite often do have questions about how the course works, how will exams work, how will coursework work, what happens if I'm sick and I miss something, how's that accounted for? And we can discuss the mechanisms, the processes over which all those different things happen and take place. You will also have a number, as well as the fortnightly meetings, over the course of each year, you will have 3 or 4 individual meetings, just yourself and your academic advisor. And these are opportunities to discuss perhaps what optional modules you're thinking of taking in your 2nd and 3rd year. We can discuss about whether a year in industry or a year abroad are the right options for you, and whether these are things that you're interested in or not, and best ways to go about securing placements if those are the things you want. So a real chance to sort of bespoke the sessions and really give you individual support and guidance. Now, as well as the academic content, your academic advisor is there in case you have any issues that you wish to discuss. So your academic advisor door is always open to you. So whether you have personal issues, perhaps you have some ill health yourself, a member of family, whether you have financial concerns, perhaps your student loan payment hasn't come through or something like that, you can come to your academic advisor and they can help and support you with these things, either directly themselves, or they can signpost you to the relevant professional departments across the university that are there to help you with these issues. Now, in these fortnightly sessions, as well as the sort of covering additional content from your course that you might want help with, we have a whole range of different topics that we like to cover in sort of themed and structured sessions with you. So these might cover things like working effectively in teams, how to be a good team player, how to manage your time effectively, giving good presentations. So we'll discuss all different techniques and tips that exist in terms of you organising your time, structuring your work. In terms of presentations, I quite often like to give students, even in their first sort of couple of months at university, get them up in the academic advisor session and ask you to sort of give a short presentation about where you're from, why you wanted to come to Liverpool, why you wanted to do electrical engineering, just to start giving you some experience of giving short talks in front of sort of friendly groups of peers where everybody's in the same boat. So there's no pressure on this, and it's just good experience building. We'll also have sessions where we'll look at sort of your what we like to call employability skills. So things like how to write a good CV, what happens at interviews. We can do some mock interviews, we can do some mock assessment centres. We can discuss about how to go about identifying what companies are recruiting summer internships that year and how to make yourself look as attractive as possible for them. And we'll also discover things that don't immediately seem like they're relevant to electrical engineering, but really they are. Things like ethics and academic integrity. So as an engineer, what we want to do is we want you to be able to solve problems, develop new technologies, new solutions, and we want those to be used for good. However, they could inadvertently, or even by design, be used for malpractice. And these are things that we want to make you aware of. So if you were going to become a medic and you went to the university's medical school, as you start your course, you have to sign the Hippocratic Oath to say you're going to uphold life, and you're going to act in people's best interests. And we feel passionately that actually you should be doing very similar things as engineers. You should be designing solutions that will make people's lives better, not worse. So we'll look at some very high profile examples. So things like the Volkswagen scandal from a few years ago, where engineers cheated cheated the emissions tests to make their cars look more environmentally friendly than they were. That's actually resulted in huge fines, and actually some engineers going to jail. Now, obviously, that in some ways is quite a black and white case. It was obvious what they were doing was wrong. But as a fresh graduate, just come out of university, you've just gone to work for Volkswagen, and your boss says to you, I want you to go and program the car to do this. That can be quite a pressurizing situation. How do you say no to your new boss? This could be your job that you lose. So we talk about not just knowing whether it's the right or wrong thing to do, but how to actually make the right choices and do the right thing. So what networks exist give you support and guidance. So we'll talk about things like the Institute of Engineering Technology and how they're there for support and guidance, how they can provide legal help in situations like that to enable you to stand up and make the right decisions and not find yourself placed in these potentially compromising situations. We'll also talk about just sometimes less clear-cut things, but things that still have ethical implications in terms of the engineering you might do. An example I've talked through this year with some of my tutees is surrounding driverless cars and autonomous vehicles. Now, what happens if an autonomous vehicle is involved in a crash and somebody is seriously injured or dies? Who is actually held accountable there? Is it going to be the person who sits in the car and tells it to go on that journey? Or is it going to be the engineers, the computer scientists, the people that developed technology that have enabled the car to actually undertake that journey? So the example I've worked through with my tutees is a fairly sort of a fairly well-known textbook example now, and it's not strictly true. It would never really happen. But the ethical dilemma that we present to them is that the car is driving down the road, and somebody steps out directly in front of that car. The brakes can be applied, but they're not going to stop in time, so you're going to hit that person. Your alternative might be to turn the car to the left as you brake. There's a bus stop there, and there might be people queuing at the bus stop. So who do you hit? Do you hit the person who stands out in front of you, or do you hit the people queuing at the bus stop? Now, if you were driving a car, a normal car, no one's going to blame you for that split-second decision that you make. But in an autonomous vehicle, a collision like that is going to be preset by the engineers that design the software and the circuits that enable that car to run. So what should we do? Should we just hit the person who walks out in front of us because they were the ones who walked out in front and didn't look? Do we steer into the side? Do we try and make some sort of dilemma? Do we some kind of judgment? Do we say the person who stepped out in front of us is a frail elderly person? They're much more likely to be seriously injured, whereas it's a fit, healthy person to the side, less likely to be seriously hurt. Should we try and balance a decision on that? Now, there's no right or wrong answer to this, and as an individual engineer, you're never going to be put in a position where you make that decision. But as part of a set of engineers developing autonomous vehicles, these are some of the things that you may have to start considering. So we like to get our students to start thinking about these decisions early on during their time with us, and thinking about sort of how they may approach them and how they may go about making good support. So that's just a very brief summary of some of the sort of diverse topics that will be covered with your academic advisor sort of during your time. And I hope you found that useful. Thank you.